On this episode of Driving Through Life by Lost Socket Garage, I'm gonna do something I never do, and I'm gonna try to make this quieter. Shut the f*** up! Right, so, a little bit about what we're doing here. Actually, a little background on the car. This is a 03, give you a little tail action here. This is an 03 WRX wagon. It's got 236,000 miles on it, so lots and lots of mileage. However, it was actually just, the motor itself was actually just rebuilt, replaced the entire bottom end, milled the heads, did all that good stuff. So I actually got a really good deal on it. The motor only has 28,000 miles on it. The clutch was replaced 1,500 miles ago, so there are a few things missing. As you can hear in the background, it's a little bit noisy, even for a Subaru. You're also going to notice that there's nothing right there. There should be an exhaust there. Well, there's not. Apparently what happened was... What's up, bro? Apparently what happened was when they were putting the motor back together, hey, hold on, Blondie's got a question. Back to what I was saying, even though I don't remember, or I was so rudely interrupted. Apparently what happened with the exhaust, when they were putting everything back together, they put a new downpipe on it. But the downpipe was actually for an 02 to 05 Subaru Legacy, which that downpipe is way different from an 02 to 05 WRX. Actually, it's 02 to 07 WRX, all take the same downpipes. The flange on the back is a little bit tilted, and it's a little bit different spot, so I can't just bolt another exhaust up to it. So what I've done here is I've gone on the mighty classifieds. This is a nice selfie stick angle. It's so pretty. So I went ahead and got this exhaust for 300 bucks. This is an Invidia divorced wastegate downpipe. It's a catless downpipe, so let's hope emissions people don't look at this. And then this is an actual HKS exhaust, which is kind of cool. As you can see, it's got some imperfections because whoever owned it before me lived that low life and kind of scraped it up a little bit, but it does have a cat right there. Nice big old tip. So reason you hear the Subaru in the background is because we're actually going to be warming up the Subaru for a little while. Reason we're warming it up is because this is the downpipe that we're going to be taking off here. Again, this is actually cob catted. I can't tell if it's catted or not. I'll let you know when I get it off. Doesn't really matter. A cob downpipe for a Legacy GT. There are 5 bolts right around the turbo. These bolts are the bane of my existence, probably because on my 06 I took them on and off 30,000 different times through different turbos. But there's 5 bolts here, and I've always found that it's a lot easier to take these 5 bolts off if the exhaust is kind of hot. So I'm going to attempt to jack this low bitch up and start loosening up these bolts while the car is still a bit warm. So we're all done taking the downpipe off, which was the only piece of exhaust on this vehicle. So that's cool. A couple of tips on taking the downpipe off. Let me show you the worst bolt in the world. So this is actually not the downpipe that came off of it. I found someone on the street and sold the old one to them, which was a cob-catted downpipe. This is an Invidia catless, which I ain't scared. It's got the extra band up, or the extra bolt up top for the wideband if you want to get crazy, which I love that option. Now, all of these bolts are actually, let's see here, there are 2 studs coming off of the turbo. Everything here is a 14 millimeter. The worst bolt in the world is this little shit right here. This one, which bolts onto the turbo like this. So it is the bottom driver's side bolt. This is hell. These 3 you can actually get to from the top of the car without taking off the top mount. But let me make your life a little bit easier. What you do is you go ahead and take off the top mount, the intercooler, top mount, intercooler, whatever. So you take off the top mount. It is very, very, oops, need that gasket. It's very, very easy to take off. You're gonna take off unbolt the blow-off valve. There are 2 bolts, one here, one there, that actually hold the top mount down. The Y pipe on the top mount attaches to the turbo right there. So you undo the little clip that's there. It's a metal tie, basically, that you unscrew. And you unplug these vacuum hoses A and B from that side of the top mount, and you just pull the whole thing out. And it is this bolt right there off the back of the turbo, off the back of the TD05. This top bolt just kind of stays in, but let's see if I can get you a little better light. All right, there we go. TD05 turbo actually has 3 studs coming out of the 5 bolts. So you're gonna have 3 nuts that you have to take off and 2 bolts that you need to take off. This is by far the hardest one to get to. This is gonna make your life a ton easier. I've taken off and put on, 20, 30 of these in my lifetime. The best way to do it is just give yourself all the breathing room right here by taking out the top mount. This way you can actually get a socket into there fairly easily. So do that. Also, there is a clamp here on the throttle body to get the top mount out. Again, just loosen that and pop it on out. And then you'll be able to drop the downpipe out. There's also a hanger that it sets in, which is about halfway back on the car. There is going to be an O2 sensor. Don't worry about taking it off. To get the car off, there's actually a plug right here. Just undo the plug at the end that comes out of the harness, out of the car. Just unplug it there and pull the whole downpipe off. And then what's gonna be super, super easy is I'm just gonna drop this in there, and instead of having to do like the pre-twist thing where you twist the wire a few times, so that when you put it in, it doesn't kink or anything like that. I'm literally just going to tighten the O2 sensor down and then just plug it into the factory harness. So I got a new gasket for this downpipe. This already had a gasket. Again, I'm not worried about spending a lot of money on this car, so I'm gonna leave the exhaust gaskets pretty much where they're at. Now that I think of it, there wasn't a downpipe gasket on the other one. The hell? Oh, there is. A lot of heat goes through this gasket. So every time, almost every time, this is already, like I said, coming apart. So replace this. Grimspeed sells them for like 12 bucks. Totally worth it. A couple of things, get over to some light here with our top mount. Replace this. If you're going to take off the top mount intercooler, might as well replace the Y pipe. Chances are, and you don't have to replace it every time. I'm just saying that the stock Y pipe for 02 to 07 and even beyond, both WRX and Legacy GT, these Y pipes are dog shit. This is actually a brand new stock one that was put on during the build of the motor. I know this because I checked the receipt. These fall apart so fast because they're right above the turbo, and they take on a lot of heat and they end up cracking, and you get boost leaks from here. So I think Perrin makes a Y pipe. I don't exactly remember who makes a Y pipe, but get a silicone version of this. I'm not going to for this car because, again, we're going super cheap with it, and this one is pretty much brand new. Also, if you get the opportunity, this car already has one, thank God, because it is a pain in the ass to install. This is the turbo inlet pipe that comes off of your intake. This one is actually a Perrin turbo inlet pipe. These things are awesome. The Perrin ones are great. The stock ones are crap. They'll end up cracking, and again, they're attached to the turbo. So this engine heats up a lot. So anything that is plastic or silicone on it is gonna crack pretty damn fast. So be mindful of this. If you're getting a boost leak, this could be one of the places that it's coming from. The only issue with replacing this is you are gonna have to at least loosen the intake manifold for it, because there's just no way to twist and turn this thing under the intake manifold and into the turbo. Might as well just take off the intake manifold. I wanted to get everything done tonight. I wanted to throw the downpipe on, but I was busy talking to some other gearheads that I found on the street that I sold a downpipe to. So a little dark, a little chilly out, supposed to snow tomorrow. I will catch you kids the next time I'm working on this. I'll show you how to install the downpipe, put on the HKS, full exhaust, put everything back together, and we'll do some sound clips. And then we'll talk about what's coming next to this thing. We're back here. It's been a while. Snowed really hard, got preoccupied, did some other stuff, but it's time to pick up where I left off on the Subaru. What we're gonna do today is we're gonna take this downpipe, Invidia catless that I got, and we're gonna put it in that hole, giggity. This is, we're gonna take the downpipe and we're gonna slide it up from the bottom. And we have a couple of studs that are in that turbo already. We're gonna slide it onto the studs first and then just bolt up the 5 bolts. First thing I need to do though, put on your O2 sensor, and it goes right there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our stock O2 sensor, we're gonna throw it in there, tighten it up, and then that way once we put the downpipe in, we can just plug that bad boy in.
Hi, this is Hunter from Lost Socket Garage. And today I wanted to talk to you about 2 tips when putting on a downpipe to an O2 WRX. Number 1, as you can see, my glasses right here, I believe in safety first. Number 2, old gaskets can be shit. Number 2, old gaskets can be shit. This is a good example of an old downpipe gasket that just would not leave its home. So I had to exercise it from its home. It's dead now. Number 3, new downpipe gaskets are always important, but remember one thing. If you're watching this video right now and you're about to put on your new downpipe, make sure that you put on the fucking gasket before you tighten it down, unlike some numbnuts who just had to take a downpipe back off and put on the new gasket. Thanks for watching. If this content is helpful at all, make sure you slap a like on it and do the subscribe thing. It'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks.
Right along, downpipe is installed. I just need to plug in the O2 sensor. Next thing that we're gonna be doing, oh, hello, how are you? You're just so precious. Next thing we're gonna be doing is putting this rice cooker under the car and hooking that up. It's already got a gasket inside, or up to the mid pipe. Gonna be throwing that back on, tighten everything down. Keep in mind when you're doing a downpipe that number 1, as we saw a little bit earlier, make sure that you put the new gasket on before you tighten the downpipe. 2, with the downpipe, once you put it onto the studs, you're going to want to actually tighten it down. You don't want to tighten one screw or one stud all the way in. You're going to want to do it like you're changing a tire, kind of a star pattern, until the downpipe is flush with the back of the turbo. The reason is that the downpipe is kind of hanging off the turbo, and it's going to create tension on each of those studs and bolts. So you want to tighten this one and then go down and tighten the bottom one and then tighten the top one, just like you're changing a tire. And if you don't know how to change a tire, you're on the wrong goddamn YouTube channel. Next, I'm just gonna throw this exhaust on. Should be 2 bolts and some wiggling wangling, getting the hangers mounted up, which is my least favorite part of this whole thing, other than the 1 downpipe bolt. And then I'll get back to you with hopefully a sound clip. Oh, gotta throw the intercooler back on. That's important. So a couple of quick tips here when putting the intercooler back on. So as we take a look here, broken ass gasket. Typically, so with your intercooler, it's going to go onto the turbo first. Let me see if I can get you some light right there. Okay, so it's going onto the turbo first. So you have to kind of tilt it in like that. Okay, so you tilt it into the turbo first, and then once it's on its place, once it's in its place all the way onto the neck of the turbo, then you're able to slide it down into this coupler. Now, one thing that helps, because sometimes it sticks a little bit, let me get some light. You see there's I'm having a hard time getting this. Okay. So there's a notch right there, if you can see, just a little thing. If it's not going on, take a flathead screwdriver, and you're actually able to get a screwdriver in here, base it off of the, basically leverage it off of your intake manifold. Just get it in there and torque it a little bit, and it slips right on. Giggity. A little tip, if you can find one on the forums, a great upgrade for this car is to actually just find an Sti intercooler. You don't need a front mount. You really don't. With this little TD04 turbo that's on this car, an STI top mount is good for a TD04, even an STI turbo upgrade, which is really also nice. But typically they range on the forums for around $200 to $300. It's really cool because they say STI on them, but they're much larger, move a lot more air, and keep you a lot cooler without having more turbo lag like a front mount intercooler is going to have. Now, once you slip these vacuum lines on, you're pretty much done. You put the blow-off valve back on, and then you're good to go. All right, so the intercooler's back on. Everything is hooked up, so I'm going to have my lovely assistant start it up. And as we say here at Lost Socket Garage, so technically this should work. Oh, sounds good. All right, let's walk around to the back. Sounding good. My neighbors are gonna love me for this. So we put on the exhaust, bolted everything up. It sounds pretty nice. It definitely doesn't sound hellishly loud like it did before. Went over some tips and tricks for you to get this exhaust on and along the way. Again, remember, put the gasket on before you tighten down the downpipe. Thanks for joining me. I hope that this was helpful for some of you Subaru guys out here. If it was helpful at all, drop a like. Subscribe to the channel. It really helps, you know, little guys like me get this channel off the ground and going. Like I said, we have actual merchandise coming out very, very soon. Some Lost Socket t-shirts, some piston clocks, some really cool shit. So be on the lookout for that. In the next video, I don't know what we're going to do yet, so I'm just going to surprise you. Until then, be happy, do what you love, don't be a dick, and as always, keep on driving.